How to recruit the right people to your team. Man, I got asked this so many times. How do I find the right people? How do I find the right people for my team? How do I find the right networkers, the ones that are going to do it? And this is something that I wish somebody would have sat down and explained to me how this works. And that's what I'm going to do right now. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Jeff Gamble. Got a background in traditional business. Own a real estate company, own a massage practice. Also been a network marketer and currently a speaker, sales trainer, and coach with John C. Maxwell under his certification program. But what we're going to talk about tonight is how do you find the right people? And this is how you find the right people. Number one is you have to ask yourself, who is the right person? Like who would be a right person? And you're like, well, somebody who would do it. And which is true, but what qualities would that person have? And, most of the time people would say, well, they'd have like leadership-based qualities. They'd know where they're going. They'd know what they were doing. They'd be a worker. They'd show up on time. They'd dress right. They'd look right. They'd smell right. They would, crush it. They would have influence. All these different things. And the very first thing to do is take out a notebook and write a list down of the qualities that you think you would want somebody to have. Everything from, honesty to trustworthy to, hard worker, all of those different qualities, and you write them all down. And that's the first thing you do. The second thing you do is you go with a pen on a scale of 1 to 10 and ask yourself, this is a hard question, how many of these qualities do I have? Me, the person, it would be you, but, I'm pointing at me because if I was asking the question, that's what I would have to do. I'd have to ask myself, how many of these qualities do I have? On a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being, I do not have this quality. 10 being, I have this quality. Now, that's not the really hard part. The really hard part is the third step, which is you have to evaluate that and look through and say, shit, I'm missing most of these qualities that I want. That's where I was when I first, realized. I was like, I'm out here looking for somebody who has all these qualities. Meanwhile, I don't have any of these qualities. Have you ever heard like attracts like? I realized that I was trying to attract somebody that I was not. So, I wanted people who would show up on time, but I didn't show up on time. I wanted people who were consistent, but I wasn't consistent. I wanted people who were energetic, and I wasn't energetic. I wanted people who would sit in the front row, and I sat in the back row. How the hell was I going to attract that person? I had to first, if you want to change everything, you got to learn these 3 things. There's 3 things to learn, and I wrote them down so that way I wouldn't forget them, because, I forget stuff. I don't know if you forget stuff, but I forget stuff all the time. Learning, leads, and leadership. Number 1, you got to learn the basics, because if you don't know how the system works or how the process works of recruiting, it's very hard to bring somebody into something if you don't even know the basics. You got to know how to contact. You got to know how to invite. You're going to have to master the presentation. And what I mean by master the presentation is you need to know your presentation so well that you don't need anything to tell your presentation. Now, I'm not saying do it without a flip book or do it without a magazine or do it without anything. But you need to know it that well. Now, why do you need to know it that well? I'll tell you one quick story. I have a friend that actually, was running a market, and he went to another market, and they were just kind of getting ready for the meeting, and there were about 30 people there. 20 of them were guests, and the PowerPoint didn't work. Meaning, I don't know what happened. They just didn't plug it in. I don't know if they didn't have the right cord or they didn't have the PowerPoint or whatever. And here's the thing. Nobody in the market and nobody in the room knew the presentation. So guess what all the guests did? They went home. That is called fucking up on a major level. I don't know what else. I have bad language, but you screwed up bad. You just lost 20 people. And here's the thing. You're not getting them back. All those people did all that work to get there. You need to know your presentation. And here's the thing. People are like, well, I thought we were just supposed to use videos and magazines and this. That's true. You're supposed to use tools, but you still need to know the presentation. You also need to know how to close. You just need to know the question to ask. You don't have to be a master closer, but you just have to know how to close on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being you're ready to get started, or 1 being you'd refer me, or 10 you're ready to get started. Where are you? You know, that's just a question. I'm not trying to get them. I'm just trying to ask how to follow up. And then you're going to have to know third party. You're going to have to know, how to get to events and what to do at events and then get going. So number one, you got to learn the basics. Number two, you're probably going to have to use leads to speed up the system. And here's why you need leads to speed up the system. Because you have to go through enough people to beat attrition. Now, what is attrition? Attrition is you're going to bring people in one door and they're going to leave out the other. And you're going to bring people in one door and they're going to leave out the other. And people say, well, how do I get them to stop leaving? You can't. That's like, how do I get people to stop dying? You can't. I mean, it's not a good thing. It's just life. That's just the way it is. People come in and people come out. The key is to bring more people in faster than they leave. That's the idea, because if you're recruiting one and losing two, you eventually will get beat. The idea is you want to recruit 3 to 5 for every one that leaves. That would be cool because that way you're always growing by 4, or multiply the numbers out for whatever size team you have. You want more coming in than are leaving. It's just attrition. You got to beat that. So how do you do that? Leads will speed up the game. There's a bunch of different ways to get leads. We'll talk about that in another video. Third, leadership. You want to learn leadership and teach leadership inside your team. So the better leader you become, the better leader you attract. And there's a whole seminar on that, but the simple basics is there's a good book I've got over here, The 21 Laws of Leadership. There's another book called Becoming a Person of Influence. There's another book called Developing the Leader Within You. Those are all done by John C. Maxwell, who is the #1 coach in leadership. That's why I went that route and started learning that stuff. And if you have questions or like, how does that work? What is that about? And you want to know, inbox me. I'll give you a free 30-minute, here's what it is, and I'll show you and I'll send you the videos to go look at to understand what leadership is and what it isn't. Because a lot of people think they know what leadership is, and what I found out is I didn't know what leadership was until somebody sat down and taught me what real leadership is about. And the last thing, the third thing is growing your leadership and then teaching it into your team. That's what's really, really important. Because here's the problem. You don't get what you want and you don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. So if you're a 5, you're going to attract 4s, 3s, 2s, and 1s. And that's okay, but you got to attract a lot of them. So one thing that you can do to attract better people is raise your leadership. What if you start out, maybe you can't get to a 10, but what if you can get to an 8? If you get to an 8, you can attract 7s, 6s, 5s, 4s, 3s, 2s. That's a much bigger team. That's a much more influence. You're going to be able to attract a lot more people. So if you want to know about that, inbox me. I'll give you a free 30-minute or send you a video on it. Otherwise, like this video, share this video, connect with me on Facebook at WorkWith JeffGamble. I'll send you some videos like this, other trainings, teaching you what to do, how to do, when to do. Just things that I've learned in my time inside of direct sales. I've recruited over 500 people personally, and that's not yay me. That's just I've been in long enough to screw it all up and find some people. I've also built teams over 5,000 people. Again, that's not yay me. I had some great people that helped me do that. I had one guy that was half my team, but how did I attract that guy? How did we build it together? How did we put it together? That makes a big difference. It wasn't all me, but I can share with you what I did and what I did wrong. I earned a lot of money, and people are looking. They're like, "How do I earn the money?" And I'm giving you some of the tips right here. Learn the basics, get leads, and learn leadership. So with that, everybody have a good day, and check me out on the next video. Appreciate it.